You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am Brian Call. We've got Brad Hunt here with me today. We're on another road trip. We've been scouting for elk season. This is my fourth trip down to the unit. I drew a really great tag this year. Been able to scoot down to the unit, hang cameras, glass from knobs, all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a drive, good half-day drive whenever I want to get there and get back. So we got some good intel. It's been fun. We'll talk about that in another episode. But while we're on our car ride home, we're going to talk a little bit about the carnivore diet situation that we've been on for quite a while. We all got our blood work done. Myself, Brad Hunt, Ryan Lampers. Livesay, our buddy Mark Livesay, he's soft.
He's the toughest, weakest man I know.
11, 12-time Ironman.
Yep.
He is not so disciplined with the diet.
He'll dive in for a few days and then or a couple weeks and then he's back out and then he's back in. But
so
teach their own.
I started the carnivore around the 1st of February, 2024. Ryan started sometime like December, January.
Yeah, I think it was right around January 1, pretty close.
So he's about a month or so ahead of me in that journey. And and you started in March?
Yeah,
right?
So I started in February, but then the last 2 weeks February was in and out. So like my dead hard start line was March 1st.
March.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're each about a month ahead. I'm a month behind Ryan. He started before us, and then me, and then you a month after that.
Yep.
So that means for me, it's February, all of February, March, April, May, June, July,
into August.
And into August. I'm in the midst of the 7th month on the carnivore diet. Lampers is 8+.
Yep.
And you passed the 6th month. So we did an earlier podcast on this. It's come up sort of intermittently, and then we did a specific episode, you and I, talking about it. I need to get Ryan on here and get him on here to chime in. But basically, we just kind of wanted to try this thing based on theories and things we'd read and people we spoke to.
Yep.
And you can get a little more of that in an earlier show. But it's been 7 months. And I have a much better idea of the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
So far.
And fine tuning what we're eating, how we're eating it, stuff.
And I think it's worth talking about now that we've all had our blood work done.
Yes.
And we've got little checkups on all our health factors and markers to see what's going on. And the bottom line is this. The carnivore diet and the way that we've been eating has been tremendously beneficial to our health. Yep. Period. The end. Full stop. We're just fitter, stronger. We're trying to find the downsides. Hey, if you like our show and you want to support us, head over to Peaks Equipment and check out what they have. Use the code GRITTY over there and you will save. They've got the trekking poles. They've got their sleeping bag that they just dropped. Peaks has a teepee. They have gaiters. They have a headlamp. All premium products for the outdoorsman. Head over there. Use the code GRITTY. That's peaksequipment.com. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, like I would say if you're somebody that is maybe not married or have kids, it still has to be in those super social environments. It could be a hindrance because, like people they go out and they have fun and they're like, well, all you're going to eat is meat.
Yeah, I would say this.
I could see a social setting being a problem.
Yeah, right. When you're talking about lifestyle or convenience, cost, things like that, there are issues with any diet that's somewhat restrictive.
Yep.
So, but just in terms of health, that's what I'm talking about. Where are the downsides here with the health situation? Tell me the downside so far.
I would say the one downside that I have noticed is I really have to be, even 6 months in, I have to be really aware of my salt intake. and electrolytes. If I don't get enough salt and enough electrolytes, I can get pretty dehydrated or feel a little crampy. I would say and people have, as I've read and researched on that, people do say they can really get dehydrated on the carnivore diet. I would say that's my one downside that I've noticed is I really have to, I've had to really up my electrolyte intake on the carnivore.
I mean, is that a downside?
No, it's not.
I don't know. I don't see that.
But the downside to me is I see it like where I was a couple weeks ago.
A downside is I'm not as healthy. A downside is I have problems with XYZ that I can't get rid of or correct.
Correct. But where it affects me is I was hiking pretty hard a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And, I took the amount of electrolytes that I've taken for the last 5 years of hunting hard like this and pushing my body physically in the big mountains. And it was not enough. I had to double and triple that intake because I started cramping up, and I haven't done that in a long time as far as hiking. And so the electrolytes weren't taking a hold as fast on my muscles. And so I could see that as a big health factor. We're spending 10, 20 days in the field at a time and, not having enough electrolytes, and you got to push, grind to get out somewhere. I can see that being a big factor. So
yeah, I don't see that as an issue because all you do is drink the electrolytes, problem solved. I don't see this. Maybe this is semantics, but I'm a little confused here because, look, what the problem was. I didn't get enough salt and fluids and stuff into my body, and therefore this happened. And now you are, and then it's not an issue. So for me, I have always been in tune to the fact that I have to consume, and I always have, huge amounts of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I sweat a lot. I think that's why I do really well in hot temperatures. My hands, my feet, my hands, you got people who listen to the podcast know I have hydrosis. My hands and feet are always damp. My skin is soft. It's even when I get calloused, within 5 days of being at home, my hands will just shed that skin and it'll be soft.
See, for us real men that have calluses and dry hands and don't sweat that much. No, I mean, I sweat, but I only sweat my back and my head. Everything else I don't sweat. My feet don't ever sweat.
Yeah.
My hands don't really sweat. But I haven't had, again, I think it's not a downside, but it's just trying to dial in the amount of electrolytes and stuff that I do need, because it's 4x what I'm used to over a lifetime.
And that might change.
Right.
That might be just a period on the diet.
Correct.
I've heard people on the carnivore diet that use salt for the first year and then never hardly have to use much salt later.
Right.
So anyway,
maybe it's not a downside, but it's something I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, I really haven't found a downside, and it's in terms of my health. I'm healthier. My blood work, I just got done.
Yes.
Getting a massive panel workup done. There were some numbers that were a bit surprising, but they were basically they were a result of the diet itself.
Yep.
Which, the amount of protein in my body is a lot higher than normal. Other markers.
Well, the blood work that I had done blew my mind away, because before the carnivore, low B12 deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, always had a vitamin C deficiency, and a protein deficiency. And across the board, without taking any other supplements whatsoever, they are in what they call the optimal range.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that is all based on, because over the last 4 or 5 years, I went to see Dr. Hockey, early 30, and he put me on 10 to 12,000, sometimes 15,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had a vitamin C deficiency. The biotin I've had to take for my nails splitting, cracking. I have not had a single issue for the last 6 months of my nails doing anything. And I'm not, again, there's probably some other underlying issues there, not just the biotin, but it is gone. It is a wash across the board.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's lots that I could cover in terms of my body adjusting to the diet.
Yeah.
From bowel movements to what I actually eat and thrive on and so on. Just the process of cutting out fiber and the vegetables and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Even the fatigue and the bonking that comes earlier in the process, 7 months in, sticking with it, basically I'm leaner.
Yep.
I have the same muscle mass, if not more. I recover quickly from physical exertion. My immune system is way, way stronger.
Yeah.
Way stronger. I can pull an all-nighter, drive somewhere, do something really physical, really tough, go to sleep, wake up, don't have the inflammation, don't have the soreness, don't have the brain sluggishness, the shutdown of my body. I was getting to a point here, I'm 50 in like a month. I was getting to the point where I was thinking, man, I don't know how many times I can just burn the candle at both ends, go and pull an all-nighter, and then just work hard the next day with skipping an entire night of sleep, of any kind of sleep, and still be functional without getting sick, without having some pull a muscle, some knot that forms in my shoulder. And now I'm like, all that stuff, it's gone. It's like I'm 15, 20 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
So on all of that, especially on the brain fog, the sharpness of my mind, the fact that I can push myself way harder and have a better recovery.
Yeah.
I don't have gas or bloating.
Zero.
Ever.
None.
Stomach feels like clean, healthy. I'm not hungry constantly. I don't crave food.
That's what I'm most excited about because, backcountry, we're packing 2 pounds of food a day. Mm-hmm. And, you go on a hike and I was like, oh, you had breakfast, and I always had kind of the same breakfast I'm having now. Yeah. Eggs, bacon, sausage, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But always had to have some snacks. There was more carbs, and I was always eating. I was packing a ton of food. Dude, I have the eggs and I have the sausage or bacon in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I am good until dinner if I really want to. Now, I still want to get the fat intake and stuff, so I eat a lunch or whatever, a steak or some brisket or whatever.
Yep, sure.
Jerky, sausage, cheese. But, dude, I've yet to have that feeling of I am absolutely starving, got to have a snack, the shakiness of need some carbs. Yeah. I haven't had any of that.
It's been a fun kind of journey. Mm-hmm. Some of the main questions I get from people are, well, what about your cholesterol?
Yeah.
What about your blood pressure? What about, so much meat and fat and red meat especially, and what it's doing to you?
We've been so indoctrinated that cholesterol is bad, and it is not.
What I'm discovering is this, like my lipid panel and all the blood work I got done, mm-hmm. I was perfect. There is nothing in the lipid panel that shows any issues of high cholesterol. My blood pressure is phenomenal.
Yep.
My pulse is, my doctor's like, dude, he's like, you're the fittest person that comes in here, and you're one of the older dudes. He's like, I don't know what to say. This is impressive. Your fitness level right now. And I don't work out. I'd say I do a couple of workouts, intense workouts a week, maybe 2. And then a little bit of like easy stuff, like rowing on the row machine or something, or going for a climb up the hill or something like that. But it's not overly intense. I'm finding that I'm maintaining a high level of fitness, building muscle mass with a far less exercise than I was before. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, everything combined, when I look at my other numbers in terms of, back to what you were saying about absorption of nutrients.
Yeah.
I seem to be on the same as you. When I started the Carnivore and I talked to Lampers about it, the whole idea was, look, when your gut is no longer inflamed with some of the vegetables and the toxins that come with that, and this the fiber and all of that bloating that comes, which inhibits your body's ability to break down and absorb as much nutrition as it should. Your gut isn't healthy because of all that fiber. Get rid of it. And it sounds insane because that's not what we were taught. I do it. And my goal was, okay, I'm not going to take vitamin C. I'm not going to take calcium. I'm not going to take magnesium. I'm not going to take all these supplements that I always take. I'm not going to take any of that. I'm just going to eat. And this is what I eat. This is what I've been eating. Eggs, butter. Occasionally I have bacon, pork, sausage, occasionally, steak, beef steak. I'll have moose, elk, or deer.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually mixed with tallow or pork fat.
Yep.
I'll have a little bit of shrimp every now and then dipped in butter, just to add a little seafood or something to the mix. That's kind of that's the whole deal.
See, I explore a little more. I'm like a food connoisseur. And I don't know, everybody asked me, like, wasn't what you're eating so boring? And I was like, honestly, no. Because I do that, do the ribeye, all my wild game. Most of it has been ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And I put pork fat with it, like close to 20% probably. And I grind it up, and I've been doing a lot of broths and stuff because the boys love them. Like, they just devour them. So it's almost all the wild game. Still have some steaks, whatever, but it gets drenched in tallow or a lot of butter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll do like carnivore crack.
Yep.
And so I've been asked about this a lot, and it's this most delicious treat you can have. And so I melt butter down, and then I take bacon. I'll take 2 packages of bacon for like 3.5 or 4 cubes of butter. I'll melt it down, put it in a cookie sheet. I'll cook that bacon up to where it's pretty crispy. And then I just chop the heck out of the bacon, and I dump it in that butter.
Mm-hmm.
And I will sprinkle just a little bit of salt because some of the bacon mostly has some salt on it. I'll put it in the freezer, let it freeze, and then you just break it out of there. And it is almost like a toffee. And it is an incredible treat if you happen to have a sweet craving or something like that.
So I think you kind of feel your way through it over time.
Yep.
And it's basically animal based, everything that we're eating.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the lineup of mostly what I eat and per day.
Where we're different too is you like, and your body does much better on a lot less fat.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is before you jumped in, okay?
I'm
Folks,
excited about what I eat.
This is what I ate. I just told you.
Yep.
I did not take vitamins.
Yeah.
I did not take any supplements. I just ate the eggs, butter, meat.
Yep.
Mostly beef. Okay. 7 months later, I have no problems with the vitamin D. I have no problems with the magnesium, calcium. I have no problems. Like all my potassium, like all those numbers are looking ideal.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? It didn't come from a supplement.
Nope.
It
didn't come from a vegetable.
Almost entirely coming out of those foods I'm eating.
Yep.
And you might ask yourself, which is the question I had, well, I ate beef all the time. I ate a lot of things all the time. I still had to take a supplement.
Yeah.
So Ryan and I were recently on Dr. Sean Baker's podcast, which you guys should go check it out if you're interested. And he's a carnivore expert. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple of times. In fact, I think he was the one who coined the term carnivore diet.
Yeah.
He's been a carnivore for, I think, 7 years, something like that. And he was asked recently, I think Joe asked him, said, hey, look, fiber. So you're telling me it's completely bad and I shouldn't have it and I should never eat it. And he's like, no. Sean Baker's like, no, not exactly. I mean, if you're going to have a diet where you eat cereals and grains and you're going to eat other foods, more sugar, plenty of carbohydrates, and so on. If you're not going to do the carnivore diet, where it's just meat, then the evidence actually suggests that it's quite necessary to have fiber in your diet to optimize you getting all that other crap out of the system and through the body. And it's actually looking like it's probably better on the body if you're going to eat your Lucky Charms to also eat some fiber to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Get it
the processing
stuff.
Yep.
So the flip side is if you do carnivore and you're not eating that other stuff like the Lucky Charms or soda pop or anything like that, there's really no need to have the fiber at all. And you're far beneficial to not have it for many reasons. But one of the main ones is as the gut heals and it gets better and better because you're eating really what your body's optimally evolved to do, which is eat meat and fat, animal meat and fat.
Yep.
When you break that down, and it's in the absence of all the fiber, vegetable, mineral, like all that of all the fiber that you're typically eating, the gut gets better. It gets, for some reason, it looks like with absence of fiber, you're absorbing nutrients better and better and better all the time.
Absolutely.
And you're not absorbing nutrients at the same level when you had all that crap in your diet.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, our guts have gotten more and more efficient. You and me, Lampers, that's gotten more efficient, and it's grabbing. There is nothing like a beefsteak is one of the most nutrient-rich sources of food you can eat. You're not told that, but it seems to be true.
Especially with a cow or even lamb, they got 4 stomachs. And so anything that's bad, the lactates and stuff like that, not lactates, oxalates that have been in, that the cow has eaten or whatever, the poisons, the bad stuff, it goes through that cow's stomach in 4 different stages.
A cow is adapted to eat plants.
By the time it comes to us, the meat, and you're eating it, like, it is clean. And there's been some studies done between grass-fed and corn-fed. There's not that big of a difference between a corn-fed and a grass-fed.
Yeah, it does seem that people that are highly allergic to corn and things like that, even though they go to, they go to carnivore just out of trying to save themselves from a really bad autoimmune problem. So that, like Michaela Peterson goes straight meat, just eats beef every day, nothing else, beef and water. It's like, whoa, that's intense. So she does that, and she gets healthier and healthier and healthier.
Yep.
And then she eats grass-fed and corn-fed beef. And even her body that's so sensitive, she's like, I can't really tell.
Yep. Right.
So the theory, the ongoing theory there is something to the effect of, the cattle has so many stomachs, they filtered whatever is sort of not ideal for our body. They're built for it. They filter it out, goes into their muscles. But what's crazy is when we eat the fat and the meat and the tissue from the beef, it does appear that all the things our body needs can be derived from that, which is shocking because, I listen to a podcast and I'll hear him say something like, what is like on Daily Wire, I'll hear him say something like, what's the name of those supplements? Simple Greens
or whatever.
And the pitch is something like, who has time to eat 30 separate vegetables and fruits a day and get all these servings in? And who has time to have all this vitamins and minerals from all these things? Save yourself all that effort and just take this one Simple Green, like mix up blah, blah, or something. No, Simple Greens is for the dogs. Whatever it is, it's like something like that. Similar, by the way.
Yep.
It's hogwash. And the thing is, it doesn't make sense either.
No.
Our ancestors were not able to go out and ever eat a mango their whole life, or an orange.
Yep.
Certain places, like, they lived a long time. Bodies lasted a long time back in the day.
Yes.
Well, when they were eating a more primal diet, mostly meat and animal fats, they were getting all these things that they need. The body is much more adapted to that. That's how it appears. So we're 7 months in. Blood work is proving it to be true.
Yep.
How I feel is proving for it to be true. Weight fluctuations they're virtually non-existent.
No.
The only time I tend to lose some weight is when I get busy and I just don't eat for 1 or 2 days. Yeah. I literally get busy. I'm like, oh, I got to leave and hit the road. I don't want to stop. And I can just choose to fast.
Yep.
And I don't feel this huge decrease in performance. In fact, I feel a little sharper.
Yeah.
I feel great. Body still performs at a high level. I did that workout with Froning, Rich Froning. What, 4-time, 5-time, whatever, CrossFit Games
4-time CrossFit Games champion.
And we worked out. And one of the concerns that I had back in the day when I did CrossFit all the time, I did keto for a couple of months, and I struggled about that 2-month mark with energy, not having what it took. Especially high intensity, and I craved carbohydrates after that so bad, but that all went away, dude. Like, I think it's true. I wonder. I sort of struggled with that for a while, but once I got to the 5-month mark, roughly, I no longer feel that. I think it took me my body a while to fully adapt. So now I can do like 2 or 3 high intensity workouts, and I don't need carbohydrates. Hey folks, if you like the show and you want to support us, use the code GRIDDY over at Tricer. Head over to tricer.com, check out their AD and their BC model tripods, the LP head. Combined, the AD weighs 38 ounces and the BC weighs 32 ounces. They're incredible tripods. They're super stiff, rigid. They perform excellent. The heads are beautiful, smooth. Check it out. You can't go wrong for a backcountry hunting situation. They're the tripod of choice for us right now. Check it out, tricer.com. Use the code GRIDDY and save. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah. Well, and I look back at, 2018, 2019. We've talked about this, and I think I mentioned on the podcast, but I did more of a paleo diet, real clean, very few vegetables anyway. Never been a vegetable guy, but I was eating really lean meat. And I found myself like, okay, I need a supplement with some type of carb, whether it's a broccoli or sweet potato, something to give me some energy as I was working out hard. I was playing ball a lot. I was doing all these extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
Because I was losing energy. Well, as I've been doing this, I have kept my fat intake super high, like crazy high. I've been rucking a lot. Did the workout with Froning. Obviously, I didn't throw the barbell up as much as you guys did, but the burpees, the bike, whatever, there was hardly any soreness whatsoever, but I've been rucking. I've been doing burpees while shooting the bow. I've been running a lot, like running fast, hard miles that I can run 4 or 5 miles at a time. And I feel like there is no urge for carbs at all. Where before, like I had to have those carbs to kind of give me my energy. And I think with this high fat intake that I'm doing, which I would say my fat intake is like 2x. 3x what yours is. Like, I love the fat. I thrive on the fat. My gut loves it. And the energy is through the roof.
I would say like we can go on a 10-mile hike, climb a hill, grind it out, go hard, and eat carnivore and thrive. Yeah. There's not this need for carbohydrate. Now, I would say in month 3, 4, even going into 5, like, yeah, I underperformed. I could feel a little bit. 7 months in, I feel fully adapted. I feel like this is not difficult. The energy levels, the endurance, even the sprinting ability, it's all there.
Yep.
Now, I'm not sure because I'm not like doing some high intensity workout 5-6 days a week. It's like I don't need to. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I don't have the time in the sense that I'm already sore from the workout I did, let alone to go and hit it again while I'm still sore. And these workouts are intense. Like, I sort of trade intensity on my workouts. I do intensity instead of volume.
Right.
So one of my workouts is like another dude's 6 workouts for the whole week combined.
Yep.
And I think that's just what works for me. And then I like to have lots of recovery time, but I like the intensity stimulus. So, the other day, because I started a mayhem hunt after shooting bows with Rich Froning and hanging out a little bit. We talked about his programming, and he has mayhem hunt programming. I signed up, and Rich got me in there. I've been doing the workouts, and I'll post my results. There's a bunch of dudes in there. Workouts are really tailored to hunting. That's what Rich is trying to do, is get people hyper fit for the backcountry and for pushing themselves in the mountains. So the workouts they're cool because they are designed for overall health and fitness, but also tailored toward the activity you want to do, which is hunting.
Yep.
But those workouts are, he has like the Boone and Crockett version, then there's Pope and Young, and then there's scaled or limited or something like that.
Yeah. So basically beginner, moderate, and over
advanced.
the top.
And I'm doing all the Boone and Crockett stuff. Weight, load, times. And I posted some results, and I'm in the top. I've been 2 or 3 in a few of those. Most I'm right there at the top. Now, I don't know all the other guys that are signed up and doing it, but I'm almost 50 and I'm doing carnivore, and I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm right there. And so when you combine that with how I feel, my blood work, all the other factors that are demonstrating to me the effectiveness of this, it's really cool to see. I feel so healthy. People will complain about, man, I don't know if I could just eat meat every day. I don't know if I like ice cream. I like pie. I like this. I like that.
Oh, I have your solution.
And I just kind of like there's no doubt that it's a decision of what you value most in life. And I'm so content and happy with brisket, little pork belly, my steaks, all these other foods. Now, as time has gone by, post-workout, super heavy workout, we have strawberries growing in the backyard and raspberries. My wife and my mom have put these gardens up, and you can go out there and just like blackberries, and you can just fill bowls up. It's always been a summertime thing that I've loved. Well, I've thrown, after a hard, heavy workout, I've thrown a handful of like raspberries or blackberries into a bowl and put some heavy cream on there. And there is a case to be made for fruit, I think, in the carnivore diet. And in that sphere, people talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Given that, the question is our body adapted to really thrive on that being added into the diet? We can eat anything. There's a lot that we can eat and our bodies will process. It doesn't mean it's good for us. It doesn't mean it's, ideal. It doesn't mean it doesn't come at some sort of future cost of your health. And that's what I want to avoid. I'm trying to optimize everything. So all the animal meat and everything I'm eating, well, then you add in a few berries. It's like, I think it's probably, especially in a seasonal sense, something that human beings have been doing since the dawn of time.
Right.
What human being didn't walk by a berries on a tree and eat them?
Right.
Whereas I don't believe for millennia that human beings walked up and
grabbed a blade of grass
and grabbed a handful of kale and smashed it. They just didn't. They were like, ooh,
Never.
That's so bitter and gross and bloating me and giving me gas. I didn't really feel an energy boost from it. Everything in my body's saying, yeah, this isn't working for us.
Right.
They didn't do it. The body tells you. You eat a strawberry and you're like, the body tells you. Maybe another. So I've experimented a little bit, like once or twice, sometimes a week, with a little bit of berries and some cream.
Yep.
And I should say, like Paul Saladino, who has started out carnivore and then kind of added in fruit. Now he's added in a lot more fruit or honey and things that I'm not doing.
Yeah. Yep.
But I also think it's somewhat unique per individual.
Yep. And the one thing I've added back in just every now and then is a little bit of pineapple.
Yeah.
Like that sweet treat. And my body I've felt.
There's no gas. There's no bloating.
No.
There's no insulin crash. There's a feeling about it, man.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure that there's an issue with a little bit of fruit like that, especially when it's, I think, post conditioning of some kind.
Right.
It's like, it's probably beneficial. I don't know for sure. All I know is as we're messing around with it, life's too short not to have a few berries and cream. And then the rest of it's all meat.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I like the trade I've made because I feel so good. If I was 20, 25, it'd be a hard call because There's so many foods in the world I wanted to experience. Traveling to Italy and Europe, being in Japan, there's a part of me that just food is an experience to be had. And ice cream, been a lover of ice cream since birth. But I got to experience it all. I've done it. Been there, done it, had it. It was cool. It was great. Right now, what I want is to feel amazing.
Well, I still make my ice cream.
The other day, I was at a friend's house, and it'd been 7 months, and they cooked us some dinner. And this is the issue we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. There's a social pressure to be around others. And this is a longtime friend of ours. I went to a family friend funeral. Everybody had gotten together, and I just didn't want to be the guy that's like, I'm carnivore or anything like that.
Yep.
She'd slaved over beets and yams and broccoli and all this stuff that they grow in their garden. And it was like, in the past, it would have been my ideal meal. And our friend, she was trying to make something that we would like. So I didn't want to say, I can't eat 90% of this, or I don't want to eat 90%. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, here's the test. 7 months, not a single vegetable. Here we go. Ate it. And, I definitely felt, first of all, I felt bloating in my gut and bubbles that I hadn't felt in a long time, which I think we as people have sort of just gotten used to, and we almost think that that's a normal feeling. It was so weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I do not like this at all.
Yep.
I do not like the bloated, the bubbles in my stomach was making all kinds of noise. And this wasn't just because I hadn't eaten it in a long time. This is just the result of eating that kind of food. Mm-hmm. Period.
Yeah. Yep. And so there was 4th of July weekend, and then the 24th of July weekend, which is a big holiday celebration around our parts of the woods, And 4th of July, my boys requested raspberry pretzel jello. It's amazing. Pretzels on the bottom, cooked, crunched. Nope. Then you got raspberry jello with fresh raspberries, and then you have heavy cream and Cool Whip mixed together, or sorry, cream cheese and Cool Whip mixed together. It's hilarious.
Oh,
so,
dude,
it is good. I will admit, it is delicious. But I hadn't had any sugar, hadn't had any stuff, so I was like, you know what? I will have a little 2-inch square of that. Because my oldest boy,
you definitely lost me at Cool Whip.
He asked me, he's like, will you have a piece? And I said, yes, I will. So I ate a piece of that, and I had an oatmeal chocolate chip cookie, just a small cookie.
Yeah.
And I could feel like as I was eating it was like, whew, insulin response, like holy cow, super sweet. Well, the next morning I woke up, gassy as can be, but the inflammation, like my knee pain was instantly back. No joke, the knee pain was there. Yeah. And it took me 2 or 3 days for that to go away. And then over 24th of July weekend, we were with some friends. They cooked some burgers. So I decided to have 2 burgers on a bun, no condiments, just cheese, salt. Had those. So I had a little bit of bread carb.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have any of the inflammation problem, but I did have the bloating problem and gas. Holy crap. Like, it came out of woodworks. And then the other day, when we were on our way down here, we ate breakfast at a restaurant. Well, their bacon had some brown sugar or something on it. Mm-hmm. And both of us, like, a little bit of gas came back for a day and a half.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Look, it's interesting because everybody has a different value structure.
Yeah.
But for me, I look at this and I think lifting that 240-pound bar over my head on a clean and jerk, sets of 5, the feeling of doing that felt better to me than eating ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Like the feeling of movement and my body responding, and then going to bed and waking up the next day and feeling strong, no soreness issues, not getting sick.
Yep.
Like the feeling of all of that is better than the feeling I get from the thing. You can contrast this to like alcohol. I've never had it, But I know I have tons of friends who drink a lot.
Yep.
And they're like, man, drinking makes me feel like crap. And the older I get, the worse it gets. And you see these people and they're like, I should get rid of the alcohol. I feel better.
Yep.
Across the board, I'm younger, stronger. Everything's better. But I enjoy the alcohol.
Right.
And so you end up with these people as they get older and older that won't give it up because they like the enjoyment of it more, or they don't have the discipline. Then they choose the alcohol basically over their
health
and wellness and the act of feeling good. And that's how I look at the diet as like one step closer to that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's like, yes, I have decided, okay, there's all these delicious foods, just like alcohol. There's all these delicious sugars and sweets and things that I'm going to cut from my diet because I'm going to shoot for that wellness factor.
Right.
And the truth is, and I think this is the same for alcohol, when you're weaned off of that stuff and it's no longer in your life, you can still fill your life up with delicious foods.
Right.
Delicious drinks that aren't alcohol, that don't have the downside.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. You're right. But I look at my diet and I'm eating foods I thoroughly enjoy.
Oh, I love what I'm eating.
Eating what I like. I crave it. It never gets old to me.
Nope.
It tastes good. And I'm learning more and more what else I can add to spruce things up.
Well, and how I cook things. Like when I first started, I was like, my steaks were on the pellet grill. Smoked, like I loved them. They were delicious.
Yeah.
And then I went to using a cast iron and I liked it, but the cast iron just a little more work, like, heating, cooling, whatever. And then now, as of the last month or so, month and a half, I've been cooking all my steaks on the stainless steel pan, searing them with butter and stuff, and cooking it that way, getting a crust on the outside.
Yeah.
And it's been phenomenal. Like I've changed my palate on how I'm eating the same meat, just how I'm cooking it.
And I think you'll go back and forth.
Exactly.
I like what I'm doing right now. I've been cooking it on the pan too. I still like the pellet grill better, I think. Depends on the smoker I'm using. But still, there's variety to be had.
Absolutely.
I'll do wings and some chicken here and there just to add some things to it and just go more carnivore style. But on my blood work, the only thing that I was just kind of on the edge, the only mineral and like I barely had enough sodium in my system.
Yeah.
I was like one tick mark away from being having not enough sodium. Well, I've been like that most of my life. And so I was a little surprised. I've wanted more salt, but I was starting to feel like, dude, you put so much salt on everything, Brian. I'm having these conversations. Brian, this is a lot of salt. And you put salt in it, just what I want. I crave it. I love it. And I had listened to the Steak and Butter gal talk about backing off on salt, and she did much better. So I was like, man, it's been a while. I'm just going to cut back on the salt. So I did that for a few weeks, for probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Got my blood work done. No, man, I have full permission. Doc's like, slam the salt, hammer the salt.
Yep.
He's like, you have your blood pressure, all these other markers. You're so far away from where salt could even touch you.
Well, and again, I think just from, this is just from my standpoint and the research that I've done. And salt gets a bad rap for what sugar causes. 99% of the time, if you have too much salt in your system, you just urinate it out. And from what I've found, like, in a way, for most people, you cannot have too much salt.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't know either. But again, I feel
I definitely agree that salt has had a bad rap, just like cholesterol and eggs and stuff like that.
Yep.
There's not the correlation that people always said. Even doctors today, I had some family members that went and saw the doctor. They're like, you need to cut back on the salt, no more eggs, no more bacon. You need to drink fresh squeezed orange juice and eat bran muffins.
Yeah.
I mean, they're stuck in the pseudoscience of the past. But the bottom line is you have one gal who's a beast, been doing carnivore for 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
And she doesn't hardly put salt on anything.
Yeah.
Then you have others who put a ton of salt on their foods. So for me, just get your blood work done. Just track things.
Yep.
Go by how you feel. And if things are turning out not great, like adjust. So for me, I know I can add more salt in, which I wanted to anyway. So now I'm throwing in a lot more salt and I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a lot better. So I think salt is definitely staying hydrated. You mentioned this at the outset. I think it's true. I think on the carnivore thing, I'm probably having more salt than I used to. And I think probably because the way the electrolytes work, minus fiber, minus vegetables and stuff like that. But the mineral content, upping the salt content, easy to do. And I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And that is something where you track it and you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing where I find myself different with some, including you, is the fat intake.
Yeah.
I've tried to match Brad. I've tried to match you in the mouthfuls of fat from like a brisket. I can't do it. If I eat the same serving that Brad eats, I will have diarrhea within 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much fat. I can't process. I don't even. It doesn't even feel good. And when I eat it, I don't want to. I'm feeling my sensation saying, "Stop eating this. It's too rich."
Yep.
But I'll eat it anyway for the, for the test
value or whatever.
To go, well, there's a lot of calories to be had from this. Now with fat, if you don't have enough bile to break down the fat, then all that excess fat just goes out your system.
Like corn through a goose.
It doesn't get processed. Nothing. It doesn't go into your body and cause high cholesterol. It just, if your body doesn't have the bile to break it down and doesn't utilize it, it just gets
discards
flushed.
it.
And so for me, it turns out that my threshold for how much fat I can take is like 1/3 what you eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, experimenting with this. So because I wanted to keep it cheap on a budget too, I started doing like pork loin because, man, you can get a giant pork loin for like $12-13.
Mm-hmm.
And I cook it on the pellet grill and then I chop it up into my pork chops afterwards and I just kind of eat on that. And my body, I didn't feel great on it. So I cut the pork out other than bacon. Bacon and sausage I do fine on. My body does great. Like pork belly does fine. But for some reason, pork loin, I did not feel very good. Didn't feel optimal. And I always had like not a gut ache, but just uncomfortableness. And so I eat a lot of pork belly, which has a lot of fat. And I still douse it with butter when I cook it up. But a ton of brisket because it's easy. I can buy a big brisket, eat on that the whole week for a good price per day. I do tons of bacon. Like bacon, I almost every morning have 5 or 6, 7 strips of bacon with 6 to 10 eggs, depending on how I'm feeling that morning and how much physical ability I did the day before.
See, Brad eats so much in one serving. It's stupid. It's like you don't even chew your food either. You just swallow it. It's really gross, actually.
Chew it.
When I'm around you, I'm just kind of like, you're done eating in 5 minutes and I still have like another 15 to go. And I have ate a half of what Brad eats. But no, I think you figure out what works for you. I have found, like, I like the taste of ribeye, but it's too much fat for me to be. So I actually feel the best eating just strip, New York strip, something like that. It has about the right fat, right protein. I crave higher protein mixtures in my diet than I do higher fat. Yeah. Where you do really well, like half and half.
Yeah.
For me, it's like 25% fat, 75% like protein and meat.
Yeah, right.
You're more like 50-50. Hey folks, if you like the show and you want to support us, Go check out the latest hats and shirts we've got on the Gritty shop. Just go to briancall.com, click shop, and you'll find the latest stuff. My favorite shirt right now is the Some Men Can, Some Men Can't barbell tee. We also have It's Just Work. We've got a couple other designs like the Gritty elk sunset tee, which I really like. We got sweatshirts, we got hats. Go over there, check it out, shop. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's get back to the show.
And I would say, you know, I get a lot of protein from the eggs because I'm eating a lot of eggs.
Sure.
Get a lot of protein from the eggs, still get the protein from the steaks or whatever it is I'm eating, but also between the butter, the fat on the brisket, the fat on a ribeye.
I don't think when you're eating, I don't think there's a deficiency in protein consumption.
Right.
Like, you know,
not at all.
10 eggs at 7 grams per egg.
Right.
You know, you're at 70 grams of protein there. Mm-hmm. You add in a few bits of bacon, you throw in your steak, you know, you're at 150, 200 grams, easy 200 grams protein a day.
Right.
I don't think there's an issue there, but
not at all.
I'm consuming like 300 grams sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm craving it.
Yep.
And I feel like I process that better than I do the calories from fat if I were to eat that instead.
Yep.
And so I think that is something you just feel your way through it.
For sure.
You feel like what you work the best with.
One thing I've really noticed is before, even on like a paleo, I could eat and then 20 minutes or 30 minutes later, I'd be hungry again. Or I could just continue to eat, like shove my face full. Even if I got a little bit of a full filling, I still could eat.
Yeah.
Now on the carnivore, like I can be crazy hungry and I can eat. And then all of a sudden there's a stopping point where it's like, nope, no more.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, dude, I have a stopping point that's 2/3 faster than your stopping point.
Yep.
No, I also found like I need to eat throughout the day to get all the nutrients in I need. I need to have a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, a little bit at night. Otherwise, I will slowly, because, for example, you and I will go out, have a hard day of hiking, and we won't eat anything the whole day. Mm-hmm. We skip breakfast. We skipped all meals. We get back to camp. It's 9 o'clock, like our bear hunt in BC.
Yep.
It's 9 o'clock at night, and it's been a long, long day. Grind, lots of miles. We sit down. I'm tired. I can't. I'll eat like a little tiny half a steak.
Yep.
Brad will eat 2-3 steaks and then go to bed. I just can't do it. I got nothing, no desire. I'm not even hungry anymore.
Yep.
I'm full pretty fast with just that little bit. And I will start to lose weight day after day if I repeat that over and over and over again.
Right.
I don't like, I just, maybe it's being 50, instead of being 35. But I know that if I have my 10 eggs at breakfast or 8 eggs at breakfast, and then I have, a steak 3 hours later in the afternoon or something, 4 hours later, and then I have one more steak before bed, a couple hours before bed, that's no problem. I feel great. I feel great.
Yep.
But I have to sort of get those calories in throughout the day. And it's been like that even before carnivore.
Yeah.
I'm not a all-in-one moment eater. I've done it when I was younger, 1 meal a day. And you can stuff your gut so much more easily with carbohydrates and get massive amounts of calories in.
Yeah.
You can get away with that a lot more than when you're eating steak and the body's like, okay, dude, you got me 8 ounces or 10 ounces of steak. I'm done. I'm good. Or, 16 ounces. Body says, we're not doing more than this at this moment.
Right.
That's just the nature of.
Yeah. And I think everybody's so different. I mean, my entire life, I've been really big on breakfast. Always been a big breakfast guy.
Yeah.
And a big dinner guy. Like always. I don't know why. Lunch is yes or no. Depends.
I am not a breakfast person.
Yeah. I know you're eating like 2 or 3 eggs with a little bit of sausage or something this morning. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I just had 7 or 8 eggs plus 6 pieces of sausage. Like, I just hammered that down.
No.
But for those of you that do like your ice cream, like myself,
yeah,
I got the perfect recipe for you, and it's simple. It is so simple. So you take 4 or 5 egg yolks, and you just take, the egg yolks in a small bowl, which I've done this, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 times. And then I mix heavy cream, mix them together, whip them, put it in the freezer for an hour, pull it out, whip it again, put it in the freezer for an hour, pull it out, whip it again, about 3 or 4 times of that. With a little bit of salt, you have an incredible carnivore treat. And I do it all the time. I get a lot of protein out of it. You got the heavy cream, and it's just a nice, sweet treat.
Spoonfuls of fat. There's no sweetness in it. It's just...
It is. Well, yes, true. It's not sweetness, but
the cream has some lactose.
That's the thing from the cream, I think, with the lactose in the cream and the mixture of salt. Like, it really ends up tasting like a really delicious vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, you're using... but this when you say sweetness, you mean deliciousness.
Oh, deliciousness. Because that's true. Not sweetness.
It's not
like sugar sweet. No, it's not.
I've always preferred high-fat ice cream, like Haagen-Dazs, with the ingredients that start with egg yolks and cream.
Yeah.
Versus your brands like Breyers, which is corn syrup, mostly sugar, skim milk. It's like, okay, where am I deriving the flavor from these two sources?
Sweet is not the right word.
One is the flavor's coming from carbs and sugar. The other one, the flavor's coming from fat.
Yeah.
Either one is delicious, but the craving that the body is responding to is from a totally different source. Right. One's fat, one's carb.
Yep.
And I think that when you adapt to the fat burning and the fat, and you start eating fat, high fat, everything, animal fat primarily, which is dairy. Yeah. You get all the deliciousness without all of the side effects and downsides that you do from a sweet tasting carbohydrate infused product.
Yep.
So bottom line is, I'm not saying go do carnivore to anybody.
Nope.
I'm just telling you what has been working and what I see and how I feel. I'm in no hurry at this point to get off this train. Nope. And on the contrary, I'm kind of bought in. So Ryan challenged me back in February he didn't want me to just do it, by the way. He said, do it for 90 days.
Yeah.
Then he's like, well, actually, I'm going to do it for 12 months. And then I'll reevaluate. Well, if I continue on this path and my blood work comes back the way that it's been coming back, and on a side note, for people that have followed my show for a while and followed me, I started HRT, hormone replacement therapy, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. My testosterone levels were fairly low. And I've talked about this on a couple of podcast episodes. It was low, not fairly low. It was low. It was too low. It was unhealthy low. And so I consulted with Dr. Hillary Lampers and was like, what should I do? And I asked around, and I actually talked to Joe Rogan and was like, Joe, what do I do? And Joe's advice was, Brian, go to a male doctor that is also on HRT and knows what he's talking about. And he said, get your work done and play within those boundaries that are healthy. You're just trying to restore the lost production of testosterone back to where it should be. Who knows exactly why the body isn't creating as much testosterone as it should, but it's not. Maybe it's just all the endocrine inhibitors that are in our environment, too much estrogen in our foods. Maybe it's chronic stress. Maybe it's radio waves, Bluetooth, you name it, modern day society and living, processed foods, plastics, whatever it is. All these potential sources. The bottom line is testosterone levels aren't where they should be.
Okay.
If you were living 100 and 150 years ago, what would that level be as an adult male at 50 years old? It would be XYZ. It would be this number, right? And it's not. It's cratered in the floor. It's like I'm 120 years old.
Yeah.
So HRT was there, it was meant to replace the missing testosterone that wasn't there through an injection or whatever, however, a lotion, different ways that it's done. And then just slightly boost it so that it's where it should be at an optimal level for a man at my age. And then as a result of that, other things come into play with your health as the testosterone level is in a healthy way. A lot of other issues resolve themselves that you might be feeling as you're getting older. Mm-hmm. So I started it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I started at this pretty moderate dose, lower than most of my friends and everybody I know that's my age. The next year I had to lower it, and the next year I've had to lower it, and this year now I have to lower it again. It's getting to the point where right now where my testosterone production keeps going up on its own through my body's own generation of it.
Yep.
And so I go in and I get my blood work done, and it's like, well, your T levels are a little bit high. Let's reduce your injection. So I do that. And then it comes back and reduce it again until it's like, well, we even discussed whether maybe I don't take it at all in 6 months, which is kind of hard to explain.
Yeah, it's kind of unheard of. I mean, there are some cases that it will, I think, depending on
with
age,
like some
too.
25-year-olds and stuff. I've heard of them, like, for whatever reason, body's wrecked.
Yep.
It gets jump started, and then it works like it's supposed to.
And then they start producing on their own.
And I gotta say, I feel like some of what I'm experiencing is just my body got jump started some way or another, and it's just figuring things out and healing almost.
Yeah.
And not sure what the driver is behind it. I do believe that HCG, which is, well, you can look it up, but that is often prescribed in lieu of testosterone because it can help your testes get back to work,
right?
Start producing what they should. And so it also prevents you from losing your innate internal ability to make testosterone when you start adding an exogenous injection.
Yep.
So for me, I did that because I didn't know if I wanted to be permanently out of my own production and rely on a shot and things like that, which eventually happens if you take any hormone externally. Eventually, your body will just stop making it or lose the ability to provide that hormone. Now, the human body is a crazy thing, and not every, it can, my wife had cancer, and the things that happened to her, and then her body came back from some of the damage that was causing. They tell you this will never work for you again, but then it does, and you're like, man, the human body is a resilient thing.
Yep.
But what I'm getting at is, I only feel healthier living the way that I have, eating the way that I have.
Yep.
I really want the people I love to try it, honestly try it, and do it. But we're so addicted. Modern Americans are so addicted and so caught up in also, I think, a lot of brainwashing and bogus health information that they've consumed over a lifetime that they just can't wrap their mind around it, or they just don't have the discipline or the want. But I have certain family members that I know if they just did it for 12 months, how much weight they would lose, how good they would feel. Yep. And it's so frustrating because it's like, I know how impactful this could be for your life, especially if you have an autoimmune disorder or you have some kind of brain, like if you have dementia, Alzheimer's, or any precursors to that, or if you're having trouble with bipolar disorders or schizophrenia or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're finding like this carnivore thing is almost, it's
almost reversing it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, there was a study done, and it was like 18,000 elderly people or whatever over the age of 75 or something like that. And they took 9,000 of them. They gave them a full strict carnivore diet. And then they took another 4,500 or something like that. Then they did kind of an animal-based diet.
Yeah.
Kind of more of what we've been doing with some cheese, with some berries, whatever. And then they took the other half or quarter, I guess, and did just the American Standard diet. Well, within as soon as like 4 to 6 weeks, they were seeing almost 100% turnaround on the 9,000 that they did the strict carnivore diet on.
Yeah.
Where their dementia, their Alzheimer's, like it was almost gone. And these are people that have had it for years.
Yeah.
And having that cholesterol, getting the brain functioning again.
I believe it. At this point, I believe it. Just as a test subject of one, just my own brain, my own mind, my own results. If it's doing this for me, I could easily see how there's something going on here, something deeper.
Yep.
So, look, this isn't I'm no doctor. Okay, I'm just telling folks that listen. What my experience has been. I'd like to get Ryan on here and have him talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
On his experience, but he's full in. We did that podcast with Sean Baker. If you want to check that out, you can probably just Google hunting and Sean Baker, because that was the subject. Yeah, maybe Brian Call, Ryan Lamp, or Sean Baker together, and we'll pop up in the YouTube search or something. But I mean, I just, it's like an evolution of my health. There's so many factors that go into it, from the type of workouts, fitness, exercise, but it's been an evolution of diet. I remember when I first started getting healthy, I went from oatmeal every day and cracked wheat and a whole wheat, which they told us was ideal.
Yep.
I'm like, man, I eat whole wheat for breakfast, and I eat fresh squeezed orange juice, and you just kind of lots of sugary yogurt and strawberries and granola. And then it's like I added, hamburger. It's just like the old diet that left so much out that I should have. It was just so wrong.
Whoa.
And then when I switched up to like over time, okay, I'm going to eat whole foods, nothing processed. And then it went from that to, okay, I'm going to eat, like paleo.
Yep.
Primal. And I did that. And that was like, that felt better. That was a step up. All of these things were incremental steps in the right direction toward a better result. And I feel like my fitness and my body and what I do at this age and how I feel is just a testament to that. I'm on the right track.
Right.
And then go carnivore. And it was like, wow, it's like fine tuning all of this stuff into like the elite level performance, and feeling and health.
Right.
It's wild, man.
Well, and I mean, just talk about real quick, Suzanne's experience this last week, eating the granola for breakfast versus eating her eggs for breakfast stuff, and they did about a 5-day hike or something like that.
Yeah. My wife's a badass. She and, my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter signed up to go on a 50 mile trek in Yellowstone. It was a 5 days, 50 miles in 5 days. So there were some days that were 14 miles, 14 miles. And then the rest of the days were a little shorter here and there, but they had some long days. It wasn't like it was 10 miles per day on average, but it was really like a couple 14 mile, one 14 mile, one 12 mile, and then a few like 5 and 6 and so on.
Yep.
Up to that 50. And it ended up being a little more than 50 actually. But she went on that, and they brought freeze-dried eggs with the bacon and the cheese and stuff all in there, right? And then we did all that in the Harvest Right. And then she brought oatmeal, just like packets of oatmeal flavored and all that kind of stuff. And she wasn't sure. She's kind of carnivore with me, I mean, mostly she is. Mostly she's probably 80%. But every now and then every other day or so, she eats something that I wouldn't. But I would say this, the vegetable intake is almost gone.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she went on that hike and she ate oatmeal for breakfast a number of times. And she said, the days that I ate the oatmeal instead of the egg breakfast, I'd eat the oatmeal until I was stuffed. And she's like, 2 hours later, an hour and a half later, I was hungry again. And I didn't like how I felt on the hike. She said, when I ate the eggs and the bacon and all that, she said, I couldn't even eat the whole freeze-dried meal. It was so much nutrition. And she's like, I felt pretty full. So I would just toss the leftover. I couldn't eat it. And she said when she ate that, not only did she eat less food, she said she didn't get the bloating, the gas, all that kind of stuff, of course. But then she's like, I wasn't hungry for hours and I had energy and I felt good. After a couple of days of contrasting, she ditched the oatmeal. She's like, it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
And I would agree, especially if you're adapted, because I do believe it takes time for the body to become proficient at creating ketones.
Yeah.
Burning ketones instead of carbohydrates. Body takes time for the body to start producing more bile so that it can handle more fats than it used to. Like there's an adjustment period for all these things.
Right.
And think about your absorption rate of the nutrition. It's higher now, Brad. I'm 7 months in.
Much higher.
I'm just telling you, I'm getting probably 90 something percent, 100, like whatever minerals, whatever nutrition is to be had from my meals now. I think my body's maximizing it. I think before I was getting half of the Lampers wasn't produced. He said shockingly when they did his blood work, he's eating all his protein. His body was not sucking any of it in.
Same here. And I was not eating, I would say mine was not as much as Lampert's because I was not eating as many greens and kale and stuff like that he was. Mm-hmm. I never have done that. Mine had been, more of the sweet potato, Brussels sprout type stuff, but still had the big protein deficiency. And Ryan's was like, I'm curious to get Ryan on and kind of get his full input. And we've talked a lot, but for everybody else to get how he's doing and feeling. And
when he's
thriving.
Now he's thriving. The protein, that's why I say Suzanne's been semi-carnivore for months now, 5 months.
Yeah.
So when she gets those eggs, I can bet you she's getting tremendous, dense, nutrition-packed energy out of those few eggs that she's eating, the bacon and stuff. Whereas before, maybe she was only getting half the energy out of it in a way, or at least half the nutrients in terms of vitamins, minerals, and so on. But either way, she's like, I'm not bringing oatmeal again.
Yeah.
And I suspect, and, she wasn't sure, but I suspect that she was far more swollen and inflamed from the sugary oatmeal and grains.
Yeah.
Than you might think. Because when you go clean and you go carnivore, it is shocking how much inflammation you bypass.
Well, and this is no joke. Like, 100% transparent and honest. 5 to 7 days of doing the carnivore. And in the beginning, I was very strict.
Yeah.
5 to 7 days, all the knee pain I had was gone. Mm-hmm. Like, it was gone. And I've heard other people talk about it too on inflammation and stuff that they've had, injuries they've had, and how quickly that inflammation just leaves the body.
I think it's more than that though, Brad.
I think so too.
I think that's an indication that it's not healing either.
Right.
As optimally, it's not healing right. Like maybe it's not getting the nutrition and stuff it needs to like kick it into full healing.
Yep.
The body stalled. I don't know. Because, you did mention how you ate a bunch of sugar and then the knee pain came right back.
And I wouldn't say it's like this massive knee pain that's it's an achiness that kind of comes in. Swelling. And so it's like, I don't feel great,
But that swelling in that location just goes to show that there is some damage and weakness there.
Oh, for sure.
I think that over time, this is just speculating. I think over time, that knee, now that you're not under this constant, inflammation cycle, that knee slowly starts to get better. And then if you did eat carbs, it wouldn't necessarily flare that spot up any more than it does other parts. I think it takes a lot longer, though, for certain injuries and certain things.
For sure. I mean, I had 2 major knee surgeries on that knee. Got a rod, 6 screws.
I think it takes years. It can take years and years. But I suspect it takes years and years, certain peptides and things that you need to have in your system. Well, if you're not getting those because you're not absorbing those blockchain amino acids and stuff, and you're not getting what you need, the body just stalls at that injury level, and it's always chronic and annoying.
Dude, and I'm not a big, me, I'm not a big gym rat, but physical toughness and stuff.
It's a flaw in your personality, in you and Ryan both. But
here's the thing, I mean, I can go in the gym and I can hold my own. Now we go bench press, whatever, you're gonna kick my butt. But we do squats, we do leg workout, we do burpees, whatever it may be. I can hold my own.
Dude, if we have to run up a damn mountain with a backpack on,
peace. I'll leave you in the dust. See ya. But I feel so freaking strong right now when it comes to leg muscle and endurance. I'm in the exact same weight as when I started Carnivore.
Yeah.
I lost 8 or 10 pounds in the beginning, and I've gone back up, and I've maintained 192, 193 all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do not. Me too. I do not fluctuate.
I went from 195 to 192 in the first month, and I'm still 192 and been 192 the whole time.
That first, about 4 weeks in, the 4 to 6 week mark, I had lost about 8 to 10 pounds, 8 pounds on that mostly. And then it was once I dialed in what I needed to eat, how my body felt, the fat consumption, because I wasn't eating as much fat then.
Yeah.
Once I start bringing that fat consumption back in, it's the body just hit the optimal weight that it wants to be at.
Yeah.
And I don't fluctuate off of that.
Some people that do carnivore have talked about having an opposite experience.
Yeah.
Which has happened to Ryan.
Yeah.
Where they get so comfortable not eating and they feel so much energy and they're listening to their body to say, yeah, you should eat, or no, you shouldn't eat.
Right.
And their body's not sending them signals that you're hungry because it's so efficient at just using what it's got.
Yep.
And they end up losing muscle mass and just losing weight to a pretty high level. Dr. Anthony Chafee talked about this. It happened to him. What happened to Ryan? Ryan probably got to an ideal weight around 190 something. Maybe, 190, same as me, I think 192.
We're all right within a couple pounds of each other.
And then I think he said he lost 10 pounds.
Yeah.
He's like, Brian, I just quit eating.
Yeah.
It didn't affect me. And now I lost some of that muscle. Now I'm working on getting it back. Well, Chafee talked about that. Same thing happened to him. He said, I was just so good. I didn't eat. And then I lost about 10 pounds of strength and muscle and size. Yeah. And he said, I wanted to put that back on. I felt better. And so, but he had to tell himself to eat more, because if he just listened to his body, it wasn't telling him.
Yeah.
But once he got, he said, I think once he got a year or so in and he gained that weight back, now he just listens to his body and it is communicating. So he said some people, that first year that they're on the carnivore, they have to make a cognitive effort to eat more because their body's just not used to sending the signals properly. That was his speculation.
Yeah, and I think that was for me, because eating a big breakfast and eating a big dinner, I feel like I don't need to eat lunch at all. And there are some days that I don't. But there are most days I'm like, nope, just because I want the nutrition, I want the fat to help maintain weight, whatever it is, strength, it's no, I can eat. I need to eat lunch. So I kind of I don't forcefully make myself eat, but I'm I need to eat this so I can maintain.
One thing that I think will people who, when I first started the carnivore, I was asking Ryan, how much do I eat? Like how much of this per day, and how much for breakfast, and how much for lunch, and how many pounds of meat, and how much fat?
I was like trying to calculate all the protein I was having, and
same thing. And I'm like asking Ryan, he's like, just eat meat, what you feel like.
Don't need to track macros.
And I'm like, but how do I know I'm getting? He's like, just you'll feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And from day one, I mean, as soon as I started doing it, it's just like I eat meat and fat. Admittedly, Brad, the first month and a half, I ate way more than I did later because I was hungry for not having carbs, which my body was adapted to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember just anytime I got hungry, I just ate meat and fat. And I ate a lot of it, but I didn't gain weight, ironically.
Yeah.
But the desire to eat sometimes, or the starvation feeling, like I'm so hungry, that would come over me the first month and a half or so. I just was like, my go-to hacks was butter and eggs.
Yeah.
Just more butter and eggs.
Yeah. That was me early on. Was like, I'd make a butter latte. I'd bone broth. I would add in some of that stuff just to kind of
egg yolk and bone broth,
the hunger feelings that I had. But now
it's so funny. That is just, I almost forget about that phase.
I know,
because
seeing where I'm like, I feel super blessed and fortunate was like, I didn't go through the phase of having diarrhea and stuff like that. I didn't go through that at all.
I still have it, folks.
And
like,
I
mean,
I don't like,
it's just a product of fat intake. It's 1,000% fat intake.
Yeah.
If I just have too much fat, it is coming out.
And, as we talk about the nutritional value, like I look at getting a little deep and personal, but it's like bowel movements are so small. I mean, like we talked about the nutrition, I swear my body is absorbing every ounce of nutrition that I'm putting into it, and there's not hardly any waste. Versus when I was eating carbs, vegetables, and the protein.
Yeah.
It is.
Not only that, I only poop every 3 days.
Yeah, it's 3 to 4 days, and it's like, it's just a little guy.
You have to ask yourself, if I can poop once every 4 days, and it's a small amount of stool, and my body is healthier than it's been, my gut has to be working so much less. It has to be in such better shape. It just has logically something. It's so different. It's so drastically different than 2 bowel movements a day.
Yeah. And the bloating and the gas. I really think there's something to that. Like when you have the bloating and the gas, your gut is not happy. It's not where it wants to be, because in my experience, your experience as well, I think, I don't want to speak for you, but just how good I feel. I can eat a meal and I never get got to take a nap. I'm bloated. So like that is gone.
Remember when I'd have to get on an airplane after I just ate pizza and
hold it in the whole 2-hour flight,
and some, breadsticks. You get on there and you're just like, oh man, my gut is just gassy, bloated. And
not once do I mean, I can eat pounds of meat in one sitting, and there is no bloating.
There's no gas.
There's no gas. There's no bubbliness.
I mean, I was told gas was just so natural. Yeah. Part of everything that we,
I truly believe the gas is an unhealthy, unhappy stomach.
Weird as, there's just none.
And you are the most gassy person I've ever been around. I was probably number 3.
I was not healthy, man.
Yep.
Like, I know, even though I was striving to be, I was eating all those vegetables and stuff.
Yep.
Because in whole foods, whole grains, it's eating it because they told us to.
Yeah.
Because all the literature and all the doctors and all the people I interviewed said this is ideal. This is how you pursue higher levels of wellness.
Yeah.
And it's just proven
false,
to be completely not true.
Yep.
So,
well, before we go, because I know I'm going to have to answer this question 100 times.
Yep.
We're going to get it. Everybody's going to ask, what are you guys taking on the mountain?
Yeah.
And for us, it's pretty easy.
I just told you.
Yeah, you did.
Eggs.
You did. And that's
butter,
the thing. We'll still get that question.
Bacon.
But eggs, butter, sausage, like
jerky, pepperoni sticks.
And then I've taken steaks, like my ribeyes, a few of them, and I've taken and I thin sliced them, cooked them, thin sliced them, throw them in the freeze dryer. They rehydrate pretty well. But I'm not taking as many of those because I still like, from my experience, I don't like to eat a bunch of heavy meat when I'm on the mountain, like even jerky. But, I'm taking tons of eggs. Like I'm okay
Sean
with,
Baker said pemmican. Ryan said he made some pemmican.
I've made some pemmican. I've yet to figure out how to make it. Like, and I don't think you can. From all the research, and I've talked to Ryan a bunch, like I've yet to make it to where it's like super palatable. Like it's not very flavorful. Now it is
Densely nutritious.
the first time I made it, I'm like, you know what, I'll add some extra salt because I like salt. And that was a mistake. It like makes you pucker up because there's so much salt on it, salt flavor. It is very sustainable and it's going to get me by if I have to have something
Pemmican
like that.
is just meat and tallow.
Yep.
Meat
ground
and fat.
up meat, or not ground up. It is ground, it's ground up, but like in a blender, powdered meat with fat beef tallow mixed in.
Sometimes
Make a cookie
the Native
out of it.
American Indians would put berries in it.
Yeah.
But it's pemmican isn't a thing that
it's very
hear
nutritional for something that's so small. Make like a little cookie out of it with that powdered meat. And so I would dehydrate the meat. I'll grind it up, dehydrate it, and then I blend it up into a powder. Then you add the tallow to it, a little tiny bit of salt.
Yep.
And again, it's not super tasteful, but nutritional value for it is really, really good. So that's kind of what we're eating on the mountain. I've thought about, I think I might do some pineapple because I feel great on it.
Yeah.
So
I think a little freeze-dried pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll do freeze-dried strawberries and cream.
Yeah.
Add a little, I'll freeze dry that and I'll add a little water to it. And
yeah, I'll have to play with the berries and stuff. I haven't thrown any berries in.
I feel nothing. No bloating, no gas either.
Yeah.
From it.
It's good.
It's a decision. You play around with what you really do well on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might do better with no dairy at all, but I find like dairy such a palatable and easily, like, I don't feel the phlegm or any kind of side effect from it. So
I went 2 full months without any dairy pretty much. And then for about a month, threw in a little bit of raw milk here and there. I threw in some cheese, just your basic, like hard cheese, basic dairy stuff. Didn't feel any difference. Went back off of it for about 3 weeks, almost a month. Didn't feel any different. So since then I've like thrown in cheese. I've thrown in some milk, some quite a bit of cream, and I don't feel any different. Than when I did or did not have it.
Yeah, it's a great way to test it.
Yep.
So yeah, I think a New York strip, a couple of steaks, some moose. You cook it rare. That's how I like to do it, just like I would normally eat it.
Yep.
Then I put it. I thin slice it like I would super thin slices of lunch meat.
Yeah.
On a slicer. Then I take that steak, and it's mostly rare. Honestly, it's just seared on the outside with salt on it, and then I'll put that in the freeze dryer, and I'll freeze dry that thin sliced steak.
Yep.
And then I just add a little bit of warm water, and I actually it's kind of like roast beef or something, like a rare roast beef that's been sliced. I just eat it. I like it. It's pretty much what I'm eating at home. I'm just doing the same thing but tailoring it so it can absorb water a little better.
Yeah.
Like by cutting it into slices and freeze drying it.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do because I don't have to worry about a bunch of snacks.
Thing is my food used to be 2.5 pounds a day.
Yeah.
Now you're talking sub 2 pounds. And I think it's just a denser nutrition. When you pull the water out of all that meat, it doesn't weigh very much. You pull that out of the eggs, it doesn't weigh very much. I mean, eggs are like light, scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
So there's really not, the weight of my food is lower. The other thing, there are hunts where moose, black bears, there's some of these hunts where now that I'm so adapted to carnivore and we backpack in 10 or 15 miles.
Yeah.
I will simply bring freeze-dried butter, and I'm going to eat butter and whatever I kill.
The animal I kill, exactly. Like I
Like,
can cut my weight in food or my
it's
amount of food
dramatic.
almost in half.
It's dramatic. Between the four of us, we just need to kill one bear at some point
We did that
in the trip.
on our bear hunt this spring. We ran out of food the last couple of days, and we just ate on bear.
Brady and I just ate his moose for
Yeah.
3 days.
Yep.
We were not carnivore adapted, but yet we went without food for 2 days, killed his moose,
And foundered on moose fat.
and then ate the moose for 3 days. And I got diarrhea from, at first I was fine, but I just kept eating those burnt ends, the chunks of fat.
Yep, the rendered down fat.
And I'd pull those little bits of popcorn or like,
pork rinds,
pork
basically.
rinds. Yeah. And I would just chomp those and I'm like, okay. It was all good and dandy until I overdid it on the fat intake.
Yeah.
And then it's like too much fat, Brian. You can't eat that much fat.
See, and we didn't mention it, but I will take every brisket that I make, I trim off that fat that's just no good, that's not going to render down nice in the pellet grill.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take all that, and then I render it down in the pot. I cut it into real like half-inch chunks, and I render it down, and I eat those as like a treat too. Those rendered down pieces of beef fat.
Yep.
And oh man, they are good. So good. Again, I'm absolutely loving what I'm eating. Same with you. It's been pretty incredible. Like how my body is feeling and reacting, and the strength and the recovery and the energy.
The downside to it is social eating and travel.
Yep.
But you know what we do when we travel? We just don't eat. That's from destination to destination.
Yes, and no.
We often just don't eat that much, I should say.
Yeah. But even then, like we'll bring a little grill or whatever, a little Camp Chef stove or something.
Yeah. We rarely eat out because there's not much to be had.
No, like a steak's just not great when you go to an Outback or a Texas Roadhouse.
It pisses me
okay.
off. It's like
pay $35
for $45, and it's a crappy steak.
I know. But like, I'll bring brisket on the road because it's easy. You know, I can quickly warm it up, throw some butter on it. It's easy for me to eat, and eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's eggs. It's easy. But
anyway, folks, I hope you're finding this discussion useful. We beat this like a dead horse. So yeah, if you got questions, leave them in the comment section of our YouTube video or wherever we put this video. And we try to respond to the comment sections on our video content.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll keep you abreast of the journey as we continue forward with it. But that's where we're at right now. Thanks for tuning in. Stay gritty.